My name is Chantal Mouffe. Well, I have, for my part, been interested in populism for quite a long time, much before this kind of search, because I began to work on the rise of Georg Haider and the Freedom Party in Austria, which is really the first right-wing populist party that was successful. And, but also to a certain extent the rise of the Front National in France, because I was realizing that in fact the development and the increasing success of those parties were linked with the move to the center of socialist parties. Both in the case of France and in the case of Austria, it was absolutely clear. So my interest was originally in criticizing this consensus of the center. But then I began to realize that the consequence of that was the rise of those populist parties. But at the moment when I began to write about that, those parties were really an exception in Europe. Now the situation is really different, because we've been seeing the development of right-wing populist parties in many other countries. And recently, well, there is real interest in trying to understand the rise of those parties, because this has become a quite important political phenomenon, to which it's important to understand how to deal with them, to what is their nature, and how one can challenge them. This lack of alternative which is given to citizens in most European countries is really at the origin of the development of those parties. So I think there is definitively an absolute link between the kind of politics, mainly I will say of the so-called socialist or labor parties, because they are the one who have been creating the terrain for the development of right-wing populism, because they are the ones which should have offered an alternative to neoliberal globalization. And since they are not doing that, then the terrain is created for right-wing parties to say, no, there is an alternative to the consensus of the center. And we are the one who are providing this alternative. So I think this is, in order to understand the rise of those parties, it is very important that the left parties or center-left parties make a serious auto-criticism. And of course, this is why I think there is some kind of blockage in the development of those theories, because most socialist parties don't want to make that autocritique, and so they are trying to find other form of interpretation of right-wing populism, the return of the Brown Plague, or a lot of things like that. But I think that this is not definitively the direction we should follow in order to understand the nature and the success of those parties. I think that it will help us first to understand the specificity of populism. And I'm definitively against the general tendency that we find today in kind of amalgamating together extreme right and right-wing populism. I mean, all my work has been trying to say that's the rise of parties like FPÖ or what I call right-wing populism is something which is new. It's not a return of the Brown Plague, and it's not the same extreme right which is coming back. No, it's a new phenomenon. And I'm really very worried to see that, for instance, in France, there is a lot of discussion about that at the moment. Oh no, Marine Le Pen and Le Front National, that is all extreme right. It's, of course, by saying that, they don't have to put into question, the role of their parties in being responsible for that. And of course, it also does not require any further analysis. We know that it's the same thing. And I think that that's really something which is very important to challenge. And also to try to understand the specificity of those right or populist parties and their difference with the extreme right. And this is where I think that the situation in Latin America is quite useful, because there what we are seeing is the development of left-wing populism. So we are beginning to understand that populism is not something that need to be rejected, need to be demonized. Populism can take many different articulations, and in fact, the difference between right-wing populism and left-wing populism, I think, is crucial to understand that. There is today a real urgency to understand the nature of those movements if we want to be able to stop them. And I think that, as I was saying before, there is not yet sufficiently developed a theory that will help us to understand it. And what is really important about this project is the fact that they are understanding the use of discursive theory in order to understand those phenomena. So I think that, for instance, the methodology which I see applied in this project is really the one which can produce good results. And as far as I've been able to see during this symposium, all the papers are really on the right track. And I'm absolutely sure that something really very important is going to come out of those of this research, because it is the approach is exactly the correct one, and the people are really very well formed to carry on the research. So I really think it's absolutely a wonderful initiative.